We will start with roll call. I have Councilman Hempstead, Councilman Barrow, myself, Councilman Clover, Councilman McGee, Councilman Von Arb. Bernice is on line. We have both the town manager and clerk are all present. We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we get started on the official agenda, I have three things I want to present this evening. First, I think the town of Mineral lost an icon. He spent many years in service to the town of Mineral. So I'd like to present a proclamation in honor of Roy Lee Payne. So we'll present that tonight. We'll get it sent to his family and we'll keep one on display here in Town Hall. So I'll read it out to you. Whereas over the years, Roy Lee Payne has exemplified unwavering dedication and service to the town of Mineral, contributing significantly to our community through various esteemed roles. And whereas Roy served proudly on the town council, demonstrating strong leadership and commitment to improving the quality of life for all residents of Mineral, advocating for positive change and community development. And whereas as a member of the volunteer fire department, Roy selflessly devoted countless hours to public service, displaying extraordinary commitment to protecting both our lives and property. And whereas Roy has been a guiding force for aspiring public leaders, generously sharing his wisdom and experience through coaching and mentorship, fostering a spirit of service and commitment among the next generation. Now, therefore, I, Ronald W. Chapman, Mayor of the Town of Mineral, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2025 as Roy Lee Payne Day in honor of his remarkable contributions and lasting impact on our community. We extend our deepest gratitude to his years of dedicated service, and we celebrate his legacy as an inspiration to all. So we'll get that sent out to his family as a way to commemorate his public service. Before I move on, I would like to ask the council to honor a moment of silence for Roy Lee Payne. I think it's safe to say that our prayers are with his family and friends.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome. And we'll get you a copy of this as well.
He meant the world to me.
I know. I have two other presentations I want to make this morning and this evening, and I promise we'll get to the official agenda. Second thing is in recognition of our staff. So before I read the proclamation, I think this council can accept that our staff has done an amazing job, our entire staff, our maintenance team, our DMV staff, our office staff in the last year in keeping this town afloat. We have a brand new software system that for the first time is operable. The town purchased it almost 4 years ago for $60-some thousand. So the staff has been able to get that up and running. We are actually using it now. We've identified massive amounts of leaks in our water system and are working towards remedying those. And just our day-to-day processes. I'm not saying we don't have room to continue to grow, but I do want to commemorate the work and celebrate the work that the staff has done. So tonight I am issuing a second proclamation and I'll read it out to you. You got dirty. Whereas the success and progress of our beloved town is a direct reflection of the commitment, diligence, and hard work of our dedicated staff. And whereas our staff has exhibited extraordinary teamwork and perseverance while setting up and implementing new software systems that streamline operations and enhance service delivery. And whereas their collective effort in creating policies and procedures has established a solid foundation for our town's governance and resilience. Whereas the continuous and collaborative work put into creating our annual budget has created transparency and efficiency while providing council with vital information to make decisions that best suit the needs of our town. And whereas, through their tireless dedication, our staff has successfully achieved the ambitious goals set forth this year, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to the betterment of our town. And whereas the DMV staff's recent audit received exemplary markings, showcasing their unwavering commitment to excellence and compliance. And whereas these accomplishments reflect the spirit of collaboration and innovation that greatly benefits our residents and strengthens the fabric of our community. Now therefore, I, Ronald W. Chapman, Mayor of the Town of Mineral, do hereby proclaim Friday, May 16th, Staff Appreciation Day, in recognition of the outstanding work and achievements of our staff. We commend their dedication and service, and we encourage all citizens to join us in celebrating their hard work and commitment to our community. So again, this is presented to our town staff. And here's a copy of this for each. Oh, shake my hand.
Oh, I didn't know what.
There's a copy of this for each employee of the town. And the last one, I'm gonna do this standing. If Hank could come up to the front. Hank is celebrating a 5-year anniversary with the town of Mineral. And I commandeered this. They were gonna do it in the office. And I said, no, we're gonna embarrass you. So Hank is celebrating 5 years of dedicated service to the town of Mineral. We would be lost without your expertise and your advice in our maintenance of the town, the water system, et cetera. So again, congratulations and thank you very much. All right, now let's go ahead and adopt the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. I have a motion. I need a second. I'll call roll. Councilman Hempstead? Yes. 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 Bernice?
Yes.
All right, so we'll open the floor to public comment.
Jen? I think this proclamation for Roy Lee is very nice. I was wondering if maybe there was someplace in town where we could plant a tree in his honor. Oh, that would have a long lasting memory of him.
That would be
Great.
fantastic.
Great idea.
And I'm sure we could get sponsors.
Great idea.
Debbie Moon?
Could we also get a copy of the proclamation to post?
Did you want a copy of both?
Sure. I like this. It's my height, yeah. As you all know, I own the building next door at 232 Mineral Avenue. I purchased the building 2 years ago. Late last year, I made the decision to sell the building as I'm not able to financially put my dreams into action. I have a verbal offer to sell the building later this year, and the offer came with the ability to entertain other offers soon. Then we found out there won't be any water to my building for projected 2 years, and all offers are off the table. You may claim whatever you want in your timeline, but here's what I know and have documentation to back up every statement. You've been working on the town's water system and have repaired all but 3 leaks. Well number 4 was taken offline in May 2024. The letter from VDH was dated February 5th, stating any new demand to the water system should be paused. The Louisa County Board of Selectmen uploaded the VDH letter to their file on February 10th. They also had the letter in their agenda packet on February 18th. Nicole Washington approved Eric Washington's zoning request on February 19th. The town vaguely claims to have received the letter in early March. The timeline shows the claim dates could only be March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. In a FOIA request by Tammy Purcell, it was found that Washington approved 3 zoning requests by Covert, with her contractor being Eric Washington on March 5th. These were not dated, however, Covert claims they were done on March 5th. All three requests specified private septic, but town water. Later the same day, Washington and the utility committee chaired by Covert met to discuss the BDH letter. On March 7th, Washington recommends how applicants that have been approved and have started building houses would be affected. Reynolds replied, any projects already in progress can be completed. There was no mention of previously approved zoning applications. On March 7th, the action plan and progress report was submitted to VDH, however, certifications were missing. 3 weeks later, on March 25th, Washington notified town council. March 20th, the letter from VDH to Washington said that the town will pause any new water line extensions. April 14th, the town refused to accept building permits from Jay Miller's office. April 15th, I submitted a request for information regarding 232 Mineral Ave and was told no new water demand. April 21st, 3 months later, the town made a public notification. When asked about the date change from March 31st to March 7th, the answer was, the letter states March 31st, but the decision was made by the office and by conversations that a shortened structure would never hurt. Note that the letter never stated March 31st. May 6th, VDH sent a clarification letter to Washington that projects approved prior to February 5th may be completed. The town cannot approve any projects after February 5th. Washington had another conversation with VDH on May 7th, which resulted in the following. Projects approved prior to March 7th may be completed, and the town cannot approve projects after March 7th. I found it very convenient that with a little bit of insider information, the only approvals made after February 5th were for Eric Washington and Michelle Covert in conjunction with Eric Washington being her contractor, and approvals were done by the zoning administrator. Mr. Reynolds stated that the intent of the letter was to go into effect on February 5th. To be fair to everyone in town, I'm asking that the 4 approvals that were completed before anyone was privy to the information that were rushed through be revoked. If this does not work for you, I ask that Nicole Washington resign as town manager and zoning administrator. We have seen conflicts in the past regarding Miller's Market, as well as some violations of town code. But yet this was not, but the list goes on, which you know I've said enough. The bias, insider information, and personal gain, despite the best interests of town, must stop. Thank you.
Becky McGee.
Well, I want to compliment our town for the fantastic meeting we had last Wednesday night. It was great. We got lots of information. We got lots of stuff done. Wonder why it was no chaos. It was not. All right. I also want to bring attention to the public of the nasty messages, the name calling, the calling us disgusting idiots, stupid, that we have to endure, and that we have to endure the ongoing chaos. There are even threats. We should not have to endure this. It is time for this to stop, period. No one should have to be subject to this childish behavior. Shame on you that is doing this. You know who you are. Also, at the meeting we had with the emergency meeting, we were subjected to someone making faces at us the whole time, and that's ridiculous. Stop being grown-ups and act like grown-ups. Thank you.
That's all.
We'll move
We're into approval of minutes. We're looking at the minutes from 4/14/25. I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Henson?
I'll say.
What was that?
Yes.
Dr. Bailey?
Yeah.
Ms. Bond?
Pardon?
You have a vote. It's a yes?
Yes.
Yeah. And Bernice?
Yes.
Okay. Bylaws or the bylaws, the minutes are approved. We're going to move now to bylaws. This is the third month that the bylaws have appeared on the agenda. At the last meeting, there was a motion to table and a request for time to send any edits to the town clerk within a 2-week time frame. No edits were sent. So I will entertain a motion to approve the bylaws as presented. I have a motion. I have a sec, we'll go with Becky, I think that should go.
That's fine.
So I have a motion and a second, we'll start with, okay,
Yes.
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 Ms. Bernice,
Yes.
okay, motion or bylaws carried, 5-1.
May I make a comment about the bylaws? One of the reasons I voted no is because many of the bylaws reference the mayor doing whatever. And we all know that the mayor's position is ceremonial, so I don't think that the mayor should be have the ability to comment or correct or do whatever it says in these bylaws.
You have 3 weeks to give us that feedback. To the committee that was working on bylaws, we gave you 3 weeks to give us that feedback. And this is
Well,
not
I'm
the
sorry.
time, it's after.
I'm making the comment tonight.
The comment will go in the record. All right, moving on to the parks policy. Bernice, I know, oh, she's gone. Bernice, I know you are working with your committee on a policy. Was there any update?
No, we had a meeting, but I don't have anything to bring forth.
Okay,
Point.
awesome. So we'll move right on then to the budget public hearing. So we have to schedule a public hearing to discuss and take input from the public, we know that. So you had a proposed date, Nicole, for when that public hearing should be. What was the date that you were proposing?
May 20.
May 29th. Does anybody have an issue with May 29th at 6:30? I said, does anybody on council have an issue with May 29th? But I don't know until I go. Those? It doesn't need to be, it's still, there's a time. There has to be so much time before.
29th is the first day. I
So
think,
on that-
I think 29th is the first.
So it can be
I'm-
after that, because we have to leave the advertising and.
That's a Thursday.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
We're gonna clarify something with the attorney.
Okay.
Rob. So for the public hearing, it's 2 public hearings consecutive and then 7 days after the second public hearing, correct? So anytime after the 7th day, we can have the public hearing.
You can't approve it until 7 days after.
No, talking about the
public hearing.
hearing advertisement says that you have to have 2 consecutive advertisement weeks. And then
Yep.
days before you can hold the public hearing.
Yeah, it's gotta be 2 advertisements no more than 28 days and not less than 7 days before the public hearing.
Right, so it has to be 7 days, it has to be 8 days, really. You can hold it on the 8th day.
You could do it the
Day,
Thursday before, a week ahead is 7 days. If that's when it would run.
so it would run on the 15th and the 22nd. No, the 20. It's not gonna be the 29th.
We get it in by Tuesday.
Yeah, it would run the 15th and the 22nd, and then we were thinking about holding the public hearing on the 29th.
That would work, yeah.
So it can be anytime after the 29th.
29th or after.
Yep.
So we're looking at the 29th now. It looks like, Olivia, you have a commitment on the 29th. So, can we look at, what is that? I don't want to do it Friday. What is that Monday?
No Friday, no Friday.
Yeah.
June 2nd.
Monday is the holiday.
June
Oh, wait, isn't that the Memorial Day?
Oh, it's not. I don't know.
Which weekend is is it the previous weekend is the holiday?
Memorial Day is 26th.
So can we do?
Oh.
Is everybody available Monday, June 2nd to do a public hearing? All right, so let's schedule budget public hearing for Monday, June 2nd. And we'll get that sent to the CV so that it's advertised properly. Bernice, I just want your weigh in. Are you available Monday the 2nd by video?
Monday, June the
June
2nd?
June 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so Rob, do we need to do a vote for that or can we just do it by consensus?
No, you could set that timeline, direct the clerk to advertise it, and of course, the budget itself would have to be adopted by a vote, but you don't have to vote to set the schedule.
So Madam Clerk, we'll get that advertised. Awesome. All right, moving on to number 4, Mineral Planning Commission discussions. So the Planning Commission has requested that the council look into stronger language for our light commercial district when it comes to residential build in light commercial. I know at one point, this council, we reviewed the language. Nicole, I don't know if you know off the top of your head what month that was. That we reviewed the zoning ordinances originally.
I think we're jumping ahead.
Something, yeah.
This is the carryover from last month's discussion.
Number of PC members.
Oh,
Well, there was a thought of a censure last month that was continued to this month for review of bylaws.
sorry, Matt, I skipped down to new business. I apologize. So, right, this is the discussion that was tabled at last month's meeting regarding the chair of the planning commission. I'll remind council that a member of the planning commission did stand up and say, let's sleeping dogs lie.
That's what?
Let's let sleeping dogs lie. So
Okay.
I will open it up to the council to discuss. This is 100% up to you all. What you decide.
Well, I'll start with that. I think that it's only fair that we hold the same standard for our committees that we have. And if Mr. Hempstead got censored or was brought to that level, then I think that it's only right that we do that for any other member of a committee that treats people that way.
We're on this right now.
Are we on
Number
that?
4.
Number 4.
Well, it's not a committee, it was a commission, but.
Commission,
that's what you said. Yeah, that's what you're talking
Oh,
about.
okay,
I said that would be fair to continue with it and, you know. That's what she said.
so what are we talking about?
The censure that we had to start.
Oh, I know that, but
That's what we're on.
we're on, I thought we were on 4. A, continued discussion action for what they did at the planning commission.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
I
Okay,
thought that was for the changes that were made.
so no changes have been made to the planning commission, that comes up next. So the August 12th, 2024 action to reverse,
I'm
that's the
confused.
number of people on the planning commission.
Yeah.
So right now, we're talking about,
This first thing, this, yes. That's first on here, so that's what I'm looking. This is this. So y'all switch.
No, this is the
No,
censure
you're
for.
This is right here, I'm right here.
This is me. This is the.
Oh, I am, I'm doing that next to my thing. Never mind. Never mind, okay.
all right, are we all on the same page?
Yeah, so number one was the unfinished.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I already went.
Huh?
I already went.
Finish?
Yeah, the bottom line is actions of this behavior is not what the town needs. It's not what I want as a council member to have anybody on any of our committees to disrespect anybody. And
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
then I suggest that our vice chairman sign up to speak in public comment and not show up at the end of the meeting and try to put herself on the agenda when she's not on the agenda.
What is she talking about?
okay.
She came to the meeting at the end of the meeting. She did not come at the beginning of the meeting. She did not sign up for public comment. And then she came at the end of the meeting to give her comment. And even the thing that she was talking about was not even on the agenda.
Okay.
I think that we have to remember that Mr. Cubey came in here after that fact and really was very rude and ugly to our staff.
again,
Again. Also, he tried to take
Who
things in
said
his
that?
own hands when he told Mr. Hempstead to come in here at the meeting to sit at the table. And that was not his business to do that.
He didn't tell me to sit at the table. He said he just asked
Well,
me
you
to
sat
come to
at
the
the
meeting.
table, so you.
I did, yes, and that's my fault, not his.
Well, he,
Okay.
you didn't say that, you kept saying that that Mr. Cubey told you you could come here. That's what you kept
No, I
saying.
didn't.
Yes, you did.
It's okay. So each person is gonna get an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Were you all set? You were all finished?
Mhm.
Okay.
I make a motion, well, we'll wait for.
Well, we're gonna give everybody a chance.
Oh,
It'll be
okay.
a work call, so she'll come back when she finishes. She's on call this evening, so that's why she had to step away. But I'm gonna go around. So what comes to you next? So Dr. Colbert?
Well, I have to say what I have to say. Regardless of what, he did, how he treated me, I still,
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the vice chairman has a conflict of interest. She has a financial interest in this item that she's talking about. She should step away from the dais, go out and speak into the public because she's not on council when she's talking about this.
So this isn't specific to a zoning request. This is specific to behavior.
Well, this whole thing was specific to her zoning request. Which to her it was, that's why she came. And it wasn't even on the agenda. It was on the agenda as something vague, just general.
So, Mr. Sproul, is there any reason that the vice mayor cannot comment on the current topic on the agenda? Do you see any reason, any conflict of interest?
I don't see how there's any. The decision's already been made, correct, on how to proceed. I don't see how there's any financial implication. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
To continue.
I believe it is.
so you said.
She can't.
I had not made a,
That's conflict of interest right there.
can I speak now?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, not you.
I had not made a zoning application, but I'm not gonna speak to how I was treated, but I did see him, the way he treated, the rest of the planning commissioners in terms of shushing another one, not obeying the bylaws that he had just put in terms of, they're very strict bylaws that he, instituted, and allowing one person to speak over and over and over, there was no turn taking, he, shushed Smith Ball, and those were of concern to me. I thought that those were not appropriate behaviors, and that two of the commissioners felt the need to walk out, and Julia's behavior was pretty strong evidence that it was not appropriate behavior for that particular, for that meeting. And I'm not gonna comment on how he treated me because I think it's pretty evident in the videotape, and I think other people can comment on that. So that's all I have to say.
We'll go to Ms. McCarthy and then we'll come to you.
I think a lot of thoughts about this. I think that there has to come a time where we focus on the very real and extensive issues that the town has. And I am just really disheartened for this group to have dedicated as much time as we have to picking one another apart. And I understand that, and I have gone back and reviewed the video as well. I understand that things were maybe not handled 100% appropriately, but I think at some point we have to choose to have grace with each other, addressing things directly, and be able to focus on the things that are really important and impacting the town in a big way. And I don't think that this is one of them. To be frank, I think this is more of the kind of tit for tat and back and forth stuff that has gotten us off topic, off page, many times in the past. And I think that we need to leave this kind of stuff, and
Mr. Hempstead?
I watched the video and in my mind, what I saw was two people trying to interrupt the meeting that Mr. Kugi was trying to chair. And he was trying to tell them, no, they can't speak now because they're not on the agenda, but they went ahead anyways. And then the meeting just kind of fell apart from that point on. And I believe it appeared to be a direct opposition of his authority as the planning commission chair, and not the general discussion seems to be. But the bottom line is, the people that were interrupting weren't on the agenda, but they were in there to interrupt anyways. Mr. Kubi was trying to stop that, and it may have got out of control because nobody was listening to anybody.
Bernice, Olivia, you weren't here when we stated that Mr. Kuby did come into the office and was very ugly and rude to the staff after this happened. And that made them not go to they quit. They said they were not going to a planning commission meeting because of how they were treated. So that's something else too. And also, I recall on the video that Mr. Hempstead asked the Speedens that were sitting in the audience, asked him.
That's not the meeting I'm talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
No, that's not the meeting.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You were there.
I wasn't at that meeting.
Watch the video. You said you watched it. He asked the Speedens if they knew anything about it, and they spoke for just a little bit, and then Michelle did. This was at the end of the meeting. Go back and look at it. You'll see where they were. Well, I'm not going to talk to you. But anyway, we can't have our staff being attacked to the point where they don't want to do planning commission meetings. And they did not come. I have talked to some people on the planning commission and they were not happy at all with what was going on, not happy at all. And I think we got to have, yeah, I agree with Olivia. We got to get some work done, but not getting work done because of all the chaos. But we need to make some kind of a, you know, say, hey, if you,
We've moved backwards.
yeah, if you want to, you know, be on planning committee, be, you know, take your job seriously and do it, and don't be picking at other people. You can't do that. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening all through us. And it's, when I come to these meetings, I am at the point where I am ill because of the chaos and everything that's happening in these meetings. I want us to move forward. I want us to move like we did last Wednesday night. That was a great meeting. So, I mean, that's my thing. If it means making a censure or something, so be it. You know, you can't just let people keep going on and on and on and on.
Because it was more than beyond the meeting.
And being disrupted. You cannot keep doing that, whether you're on council or whether you're on planning commission. You've got to start doing what you're there for. Not all this crap that's been going on. Excuse me for using crap, but anyway.
Right, and it's not all just interpersonal. There are things that, interactions with the staff that have been aggressive and that have led up to this. It's not just this one instance. There have been other things that have been reported and, you know, coming in and requesting that after the planning commission has okayed their minutes, requesting that they alter them, you know, in the way that he wanted them to, and that makes them miserable. And there are just things, you know, that have asked, you know, caused them to request to be removed from looking at them. And so it's not just our interpersonal problems, it's also a staff problem. So it's
So what are the measures that the censure is asking for?
we're not asking for corrective action. We're just trying to get this information out because apparently the planning commission is not aware of each of these things, you know, like some people have been at some of the meetings and not everybody's aware of the employee problems, not everybody. So we're just trying to get everybody on the same page that these are, you know, universal issues, and just so that everybody has the same information. I don't know that anything that we can put in there can be enforced. I don't know, but I just, you know, I don't know. Is there anything anybody wanted?
The point of
Mayor?
is to declare.
Mayor?
One moment. So the point of a censure is to condemn.
It can be the
behavior.
behavior.
It's behavior.
There can be penalties within state code, including a fine. This council does not have the authority to remove an appointed member. They have a 4-year term, and the way that our charter for the commission is written, it states their 4-year term is from the date of their service.
Unless it's malfeasance.
Unless, right, for malfeasance, which is a crime. So really the limit to what this council can do is say that they condemn certain behavior, certain actions. In the form of a censure. That is the most powerful thing that this council can do.
Has anybody prepared a written statement regarding the specific actions that are before us for possible dedication?
No, so I think the discussion last month, right, the discussion last month is that a step.
And then listen to this too.
So Bernice, I know you want to speak. Go ahead.
I will say that when you're talking about the staff, I've had to put myself in between the staff because I have sat in Texas on the phone and listened to the way that one member of staff has talked to him. So I have made the decision that when he needs something from the staff, I will go get it. And the last time that I went in there, the very moment that I walked in to pick up some minutes, the staff looked at him and said a derogatory remark to him. And this is the way that it has gone on You don't hear, all of you don't hear what's going on either. So he also requested to speak to the attorney. So if the attorney's not going to speak to him as chairman of the planning commission, then I suppose that we will have to get an attorney and pay for one to take action against council. So, this is just plain down ridiculous. The planning commission had a meeting last week and they had a fine meeting, and the whole entire uproar came when someone came into the meeting, not on the agenda, at the end of the meeting. And as far as the Speddens, why hasn't someone asked them if they knew anything about it or not? Because y'all sit up here and talk about people and you don't even give them a chance or ask them a question. I'm done.
So Bernice, I hear what you're saying and I understand it.
And Ron, you were the
Ron,
one who asked the staff not to come to the meeting. So I don't know where the staff not coming to the meeting is all about.
So again, I heard what you said, and yes, I did ask the staff not to come to the last planning commission meeting at their request. Because I didn't want them to be berated at the table. So yes, I told them to stay home and I would go in their place. Yes, the last planning commission meeting did go off without a hitch. We're not talking about whether or not there was an item on the agenda that was discussed. That is not up to this council to talk about. They make their own agenda that is separate to them. So this conversation is limited to the behavior that council witnessed both in person and on video. We don't have purview over their agenda. We don't. So I've had the discussion with several members of council over the last 3 months about, do we allow misbehavior, and I'll use that term as much as I hate it, to continue, or do we do something about it?
Can I make a comment, Ron? If any of you watch Senate meetings, Congress, House of Representatives, whatever, those people, and they don't get disciplined, get outright mad and they holler at other people in those chambers. And they do it because the Constitution says they can, short of using foul language or anything like that. They can speak however they want to speak. And if we try to say that we're going to censor somebody for the way they behaved at a meeting, well, maybe you all ought to get on the news and watch some of those senior council meetings and stuff and that sort of thing. Go out to Louisa to a council meeting. Those people holler at each other. And bottom line is, a censor, Ron, and I'm going to correct you, in the state constitution, federal constitution says you can object to whatever somebody says, but that's it. And our ordinances say we can give them $100 fine, I think. But the bottom line is, you can object to what they're saying, speaking, or whatever, or how they're speaking, but that's it. You say, we don't like how you're talking.
That's condemnation of behavior. That's exactly what I said.
Right. And I'm just pointing that out. And to say that we're gonna do specific things in the censor to punish that person, whoever, is ridiculous, because all we can do is object to their behavior.
Right, which is exactly what I said we're doing. It's condemning behavior.
Right, and we are not in Congress. We are here trying to be civil to one another. And we are not in the state senate, and we're not putting on a show for people. What we're trying to do is get people to respect one another so we can do our business efficiently and productively. Do you have any issues with that, anybody?
I have issues with saying how somebody can speak when they're making a point.
It's not.
Look at Becky. I mean, she likes to make a point, and
Well,
sometimes she raises her
me out.
voice, but nobody objects to that.
Why are you pointing me out?
I'm just saying, as an example.
guys,
But this wasn't about speech. This is about cutting off my speech. This is about cutting off the speech of the other people who were commissioners there was nothing about what he said. This is about him cutting off the speech of other people at the meeting. This was about,
We're not.
this is not about how he said what he said.
They weren't on the agenda. That's
brought it
what
up.
he was trying to
He was the
control
one that
his
brought it
meeting.
up. Yeah.
Selected.
Again, we're talking about the staff here in the building. They're not in the
I'm
meeting.
wondering about that, so I'm,
well, and.
I
You
think
know
we
what?
need to move on.
I think right, I do wanna keep the conversation moving, I wanna keep the agenda moving. I think that we should allow the staff to say their piece. I think that it is important that the staff feel that the council supports them.
Exactly.
So if either of you would like to state or make a statement, it is up to you, I'm not gonna require it. But I'll give you the floor.
I mean, just moving forward, I think we're all somebody, we all talk to each other, like we're somebody. You know, you wouldn't want your child being talked to any kind of way, like, you know, moving forward, I would love to work with the planning commission again and have a productive meetings, and that's just where I want to be at.
So what is council's desire as far as,
Make a
are we?
motion. I make a motion that we censor Ed for his behavior during these couple of times. And just as a warning that we're not gonna take this stuff. We need to start moving forward and whatever. I'm trying to find words and I can't find them.
So creating a censure that condemns the behavior as a warning.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the motion. I'll take a
So-
second.
Well, so the question is, are you entertaining the motion just like for somebody to write a proposed censure, not
Yes.
actually?
Not
Since there's
technically,
one
so it'll
meeting.
get written and then council. Because I don't want there to be any question as to whether this was done by council or whether it's an individual person on council who is now fighting a vendetta. I have very strong concerns that that's what it's gonna look like. So if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it as a council.
Can I just ask a question? Olivia, are you thinking that we can just verbally reprimand him and say, hey, at this point, we just need to stop all the childish behavior and move forward?
We've now discussed it. So I feel like everybody's kind of aware of that. We've set our piece, we've pulled out the behavior, we've set the expectation moving forward. Something like the censure is something that I take very seriously. I think that it would absolutely need to be written out, but I think that
Yeah,
the
and we-
opening up this conversation yet again in another meeting, spend even more our time and the time of our townspeople on something that, while I agree that some of the behaviors and attitude were not okay, frankly, but to the point of us dedicating this amount of time and energy to it is getting ridiculous in my
It's a
mind.
lot.
Yes.
It's a lot.
So like, to be perfectly frank, I don't think that I support this much.
Is there a second?
Yeah, and he came and he talked and it would have been helpful for me, or I don't know for you guys, had he said, if he even, said he had any complicity into, or that you're right, I shouldn't, that would have been really helpful to hear, but it was just it was everybody else's fault. It was always everybody else's fault. It's never.
So we have a motion on the table. I have not heard a second.
I will second.
So we have a motion and a second. I want to reiterate that this motion is to write a formal censure against the chair of the planning commission condemning behavior at the meetings and in the office.
And let it be done.
Okay?
Well, it wouldn't be done. It would have to come up at the next meeting.
We would have to vote on
Oh,
this.
to bring it, oh,
Right.
okay, got you.
So I'll start at this end.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
I'm gonna agree and say no, just for the mere sake that I think that, like Olivia said, if we're all trying to move forward, stop beating the dead horse. And let's all get together and move forward.
And Bernice?
I vote no. And I agree.
So not that I don't agree, I do agree.
Not that I don't agree.
And if this is gonna, you know,
We have consultants.
he knows how he feels, so
Right.
take that to the bank.
So at this point, the motion dies. I think it's important that we point out that council has now spent 2 meetings discussing behavior, and we hope we don't see it again. All right, let's move on to the discussion regarding the amount of mineral planning commission members. So back in August, the council discussed at the request of the planning commission to up the number from 5 to 7. No action past that was taken. So in order to do that, the council would have had to authorize a public hearing and change the ordinance from 5 to 7. At the last planning commission meeting, the planning commission decided, no, don't do that, keep us at 5, because they can sustain 5 people versus 7 people. So they want us to leave it alone. So what council now needs to do is reverse the vote from August of 2024.
Mr.
Because
Mayor,
right
I'll
now
go
we have a
ahead.
vote out there authorizing a public hearing that we never held
And that vote was to authorize public hearing to increase.
to increase, correct?
So we never followed that one.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and make the motion to
No, to you.
return the planning commission to 5.
Okay, so the motion would be, Bernice, to reverse action from August 2024.
That's great. The planning commission wants it. Let's reverse it. The
Okay.
motion,
So we have a motion, we need a second. Seconded, we'll start with.
Yes.
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Yes.
Bernice,
yes.
motion carries, the planning commission remains at 5.
Let me comment on the planning commission. You appointed yourself a liaison,
I did,
but as mayor, you can't do that
why not?
because mayor is ceremonial, you can't appoint that. You can't appoint anybody to any committees. So, and not only that, but you being on the planning commission as liaison is nepotism because your husband is a member of the planning. commission. So
I don't have a
I'm
vote,
talking wrong.
I don't have a vote on the planning commission, and the mayor has always appointed the committees in the town.
Doesn't mean it's right. If you look at bylaws,
Doesn't mean it's wrong.
if you look at the original bylaws and charter, the mayor's position is ceremonial. He doesn't appoint anybody.
If we're talking about,
Can you put this on the agenda next time?
So
I was making a comment to Robert.
I
So
understand.
you
but
can add
always
that
thought-
discussion to the agenda for next month.
I have, if it's nepotism, then it's nepotism between Bernice and the QB too.
No, Bernice is on the town council, her husband is on the planning commission.
Exactly. There you go. That's nepotism.
No, it's not. They're not on the.
Okay,
They're on the same.
Okay. if we get the request for it to be on the next month's agenda, we'll deal with it then.
All right.
So the next action, number 6, is discussion of action regarding misuse of authority by a council member. Last month, we asked for resolutions to be written. We
just did
have,
that.
no, this is council, not planning commission.
Oh, gotcha. At least that's what you.
So, yes, so Ms. McCarthy requested specific writing, so I'm gonna, sorry, Ms. Barrow. So I'm gonna give the floor to Ms. Barrow.
I'm open to suggestions from you all as well, whatever you have stated, and then we can discuss each one. So resolution for council to only act on a majority vote, resolution number 2025-12. Whereas Virginia Code 15.2-1401 states that unless otherwise clearly indicated by the context in which the provisions relating thereto are set forth, all powers granted to localities shall be vested in their respective governing bodies. And whereas the town charter 3.1 composition of council, election, qualification, and term of office of councilman states Mineral Town Council shall be governed by a mayor and a town council composed of 6 councilmen. And whereas the town code 15-5 rules of procedure states in part, the proceedings of the town council, except as its own rules of procedure may otherwise provide, shall be conducted according to Robert's Rules of Order. And whereas Robert's Rules of Order 1-6, the deliberative assembly states in part, to become the act or choice of the body, a proposition must be adopted by majority vote. And whereas no member of council has the authority or consent of the council to act unilaterally on behalf of the council or the town without specific pre-authorization by a vote of the majority of council. Now, it is therefore resolved by the council of the town of Mineral as follows. The Mineral Town Council directs all members of council to cease and desist all individual actions on behalf of the town other than the legislative duties of a council member that have not been authorized by a vote of the majority of council. This limitation is to include any and all actions that pertain to the executive functioning of the town, to include but not limited to filing complaints on behalf of the town, interfering with projects for or within the town, or preventing any regular business of the town.
Good.
Except for one thing. It's against the law. As a resident, for instance, I could make a complaint about anybody, it doesn't matter if I'm on council or not. And on that complaint form, I did say I was acting for the town, because if I put it as a person, I would have said the town of Mineral. I did, I put my own name in. I did as I was directed by DPOR. So if you want to have an, if you have an objection, talk to DPOR.
We've already had the discussion about
Well, you
the
can have a
complaint.
discussion.
This is
Stop
about
it, Ron.
the
Tell me what to do.
expectation that not a single person on this council has the authority
I
to
didn't
take
do it as
action
a member of
on
council.
that.
Don't say I did.
She said this is for moving forward.
Yes.
Moving forward.
But I am not changing my behavior. Stop it. I am not.
We already know you're not the
Generating.
Meeting stands in recess for 15 minutes. Call the chair.
Oh, good. I'm gonna call.
Before we get started again, I will remind council that we will conduct ourselves with professionalism and decorum and stability. The resolution that we're discussing at the moment is a resolution to all of council, reminding us that we have limitations to our roles as individuals. I'm not going to say that we should not be out there representing the best interests of this town on an individual basis. But there's a process to representing each other and representing the people that elected us. So when action is taken as a council, it is taken by majority. Just because we disagree with the majority doesn't mean we're exempt from the rule of majority. That's how governance works. That's what this is addressing. This is not addressing any specific councilman. This is addressing the entire council as a whole, reminding us of our limitations. Ms. Barrow was reading the resolution. Did you get a chance to complete the resolution?
I
Yes.
was in full, and I move that we adopt this resolution.
So, motion made by Ms. Barrow, seconded by Dr. Covert. I'll go around the room. Mr. Hempstead?
Yes.
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 She's gone.
She's not there, okay. The motion carries by majority. I'm gonna ask the town clerk if you have a clean copy of this. I took notes for me to sign at the end of the meeting.
Can I get it for you tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nothing was amended on it. If you have a clean copy in your packet, did you take notes on it too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Marcus draft.
Okay.
I'll have it for you tomorrow
There's
morning.
an agenda packet.
It's Marcus draft.
It's Marcus
You
draft and
can't-
Crawford.
The watermark.
Oh,
is draft.
is a resolution to clarify the town of Mineral position on a complaint filed with the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation by a council member on January 30th. Ms. Barrow, if you wouldn't mind reading that.
Yes, one thing of note, both of these are labeled as resolution number 2025-12. This one should be 2025-13. Whereas Virginia Code 15.2-1401 states that unless otherwise clearly indicated by the context in which the provisions relating thereto are set forth, all powers granted to localities shall be governing bodies. And whereas the town charter 3.1 composition of council, election, qualification, and term of office of councilman states Mineral Town Council shall be governed by a mayor and a town council composed of 6 councilmen. And whereas the town code 15-5 rules of procedure states in part the proceedings of the town council, except as its own rules of procedure may otherwise provide, shall be conducted according to Robert's Rules of Order. And whereas Robert's Rules of Order 1-6, the deliberative assembly states in part, to become the act or choice of the body, a proposition must be adopted by majority vote. And whereas no member of council has the authority or consent of the council to act unilaterally on behalf of the council or town without specific pre-authorization by a vote of the majority of council. Now, whereas no matters of concern have been brought forward for a vote of council regarding any complaints to be sent to the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulations on behalf of the town, and whereas the town had no knowledge of the council member's intention to file any complaint on behalf of the town, and it is therefore resolved by the council of the town of Mineral as follows. The Mineral Town Council denounces Councilman Hempstead's actions as it relates to his inherent filing of a complaint on behalf of the town and representing himself as a member of this council in this complaint. The Mineral Town Council was not party to and does not support this complaint as it was not brought before the council nor authorized by a majority vote of the council. The complaint is not reflective of the actions or position of the town nor the Mineral Town Council. The council recognizes Councilman Hempstead's right to file a complaint as a private citizen and his representations that he did not intend to file said complaint on behalf of the town.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So,
And a second.
second,
We'll go around the table.
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
Abstain.
Passes by majority. Has Bernice come back?
Yes, not.
Okay, so it passes by majority. I'll ask that the town clerk have those resolutions ready for my signature. Or let me know when they're ready.
They'll be ready tomorrow.
Moving on to new business, we have recommendation from the Mineral Planning Commission, review documents from the Thomas Jefferson Planning District in consideration for a historic overlay. So I will give a little background on what does everybody on council understand what a historic overlay is? It protects the historic integrity of the town. The town currently has a little over 2 historic structures within the confines of town. And the planning commission is looking to create a historic overlay that would protect those historic structures. There are benefits for the residents of the town, benefits for the town as a whole when a historic district is protected with an overlay. So the commission is looking to start that process. What they're asking for is feedback based on the TJPDC's recommendation of assistance in creating that historic overlay. So that's what we're looking at tonight. This was issued to the planning commission by the TJPDC. They reviewed it. They've asked for feedback from council. It has a 2 price tag involved, but they're looking for our feedback in where they should, what direction they should head. So I'll open the floor to discussion on the documents that you see in front of you.
it's gonna cost us some money. $23,845.60. This is huge.
This year.
And I don't think that at this point that we need to spend this money on just a review or if that's what you're saying, they're gonna recommend, for recommendations or whatever. I mean,
So this would create the historic district. This 23 grand would create the overlay.
but at this point, with our water situation, we can't spend this much money, in my humble opinion.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. And I'm also gonna say that we have an expert in zoning that we've hired. We have an expert in the historics of our town, you know, the historic, and I think these are resources that our planning commission hasn't drawn on yet, you know, that why don't we try doing, I mean, small towns often do this at no cost. Their planning commissions do it themselves. I mean, we just spent a lot of money having, you know, a lot of help with what is that called?
Comprehensive plan.
Yeah, comprehensive plan, and in there's a lot of stuff that addresses this, right? So
We spent like 35,000 last year
Yeah.
for them to do the
it's a lot.
study of that, and that was just for them to say, you can do this, you can do that, and you know.
We have some
money.
smart people on our planning commission, and I just would like to see them give it a shot before we spend any money. You know, I think you guys really are able to, you know, we've got some great resources on council, you know, not that we can't spend, you know, by use of expensive. Thank you.
Mr. Hanson.
I don't disagree that, the historic component of this sounds good. But at this point, with this town and the water issue, I don't think we should be spending money on something like this. We need to get our water fixed first.
Ms. Barrett.
I tend to be in agreement with that sentiment. I mean, I think that this is something that is great in the longer run. I think it's something that would benefit the town. I think that it would be protective. I definitely understand the purpose of it. But I do think that our focus needs to be elsewhere right now. A couple of questions. So has the planning commission put this forward to us for a vote? Are they recommending this?
They are, no. So what the planning commission is looking for is our take. Would council be willing to spend this money? What is council's thoughts? So that they don't dive in and start looking at what the steps are gonna be through the TJPDC. They're looking for guidance from council at this point.
My other question for this is there a specified timeframe on this?
So I think this was a year. This takes about a year.
The process takes a year. What I mean by specified timeframe is this something that would have to be done now, or is it something that could be done in the future?
Oh, absolutely can be done in the future.
So then in regards to development for the town, which I think this is part of development in a way, I think that we need to focus more.
Can we ask Mr. Snyder a question, you know, I mean, it's just wondering. Are you guys, I don't know, did you guys want the PDC? I mean, were you guys all of you get together and decide you wanted to go to the PDC?
We voted to get your guidance on this. But I'd
Who
rather
went,
say
did you
that.
guys go to the PDC or was it just present?
They were here and talked to.
So the TJPDC presented this option.
Yes.
It's an option.
Okay,
It's an option.
okay.
I was here.
They came and presented it and then you guys said, hey,
So-
let's get your.
When the planning commission and Mr. Snyder, correct me if I'm wrong. When the planning commission discussed it, they said, you know, we really should
Let's
get
check with
guidance
them,
from council first. This is kind of a hefty price tag.
Yes.
I think the sentiment of the council is great idea, maybe not now. I do, Nicole, you and I had discussed, there are other options for creating a historic district that wouldn't necessarily cost $20-something thousand.
Yeah, I
So
brought up to the planning commission when we were doing multiple things. When I first came on, and we talked about the historic overlay district. if you can create one yourself, you just have to write down and get a working group and do it yourself. You just have to kind of do some research and go look at other historic overlay districts and figure out what they have that maybe you like or ideas that you like and create it. It's not that complicated, and we obviously have an attorney that can help us write the ordinance language. I don't know that you necessarily need to spend the money on the planning group to do that. The planning commission itself can create a working group. And they can put together things and send to the attorney can agree with the language or write up some language, however you want to utilize that, but you'd come up with a plan to do that. The reason why we use them for the comprehensive plan is because you have to update your comprehensive plan every 5 years. And we really had to rewrite our whole comprehensive plan. And now going forward, you won't need them. You just need to do edits to it. So that's why they were used for that.
So would it be, when I go back to the planning commission at the end of the month, would it be safe to say, do I have consensus of council that at this time, we wouldn't want to hire the TJPC, but we would look for alternate recommendations from the planning commission?
Or could they get rolling? You know, kind of on.
I think if the planning commission or members of the community wanted to contribute to that, that'd be great. If it doesn't happen, perhaps this is something that we can put on the docket for once the water situation is been resolved.
Great, all right. So we'll move on to the next discussion of zoning signage. This was also a recommendation in voting the planning commission. They are asking that the town supply signage specifically for zoning changes on individual parcels that are being developed.
Very rare.
It's extremely rare.
Is it already?
I don't think that's what they mean.
Does it, isn't it already signage at the place?
So they
Because I
have to
see
post
this
it.
going down the road, I'll see developments and I'll see these signs. I don't stop and look at them.
Anytime that you're building on a piece of land, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Washington, anytime you're building on a piece of land, you have to post your permits. That's state law.
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
Yes. And anytime there's a zoning change, which is what zoning signage is. Anytime there's a zoning change, so you have your land broken into zoning districts, that's our map on the wall. That's our zoning districts. Anytime we decide, someone comes in and says, I want to take this light commercial and I want to make it residential, or I want to take this light commercial and I want to make it general commercial. That's when you would place zoning signage and have a public hearing, because you're changing that zoning district. And that zoning district affects everyone around them.
So
and
it's
you have
already
to.
being done. It's already being done.
So we don't do that because we don't change our zoning districts.
Okay.
It's never happened since.
But
I-
we post signs for, you have to post your building permit signs
So
on site unless they get taken down.
Useless. Correct?
I think they misunderstood what it is.
Well, I think, and
That
I
makes-
asked for clarification 3 times. Because I knew I would be the one presenting this to the council tonight. And 3 times the clarification was if there is a zoning change. And the example I used was, so if I sell my backyard, which I can do because it's broken down into parcels, and I want to build a commercial business in my backyard. Just for my backyard, if I wanted to get the zoning change just for my backyard, then we would post a sign that states, yes, we're changing the zoning. We would have to hold a public hearing because we're changing zoning for an individual parcel. So that was the request made from the planning commission. Again, I asked for clarification 3 times. So that was what they wrote on.
I think since it's been more than, for me, it's been over 20 years, it's never occurred. I can't imagine we need to enact anything for it, but it's up to you.
I think that it makes sense in the way that it's described. I think that we're kind of in a unique situation where we're small and doesn't happen often, but I could see where it could be beneficial in the future if that were to happen, where somebody go out of their property and wanted to do that. I guess my question is this in line with what other localities have in place? As far
Yeah.
as-
So when they do, yes, when they rezone anything, they do public hearings, they go out just as a courtesy and pop yard signs in the property saying a public hearing for zoning, and it puts language on there. It doesn't give the date of the public hearing, it just lets you know that this parcel will be at a public hearing, and then you hold a public hearing. You do have to reach out to the neighbors, whoever around the parcel that it's affecting, and notify them of what's happening. And then you have the public hearing.
I think that it makes sense, and we've received feedback for the last 2.5 years that some of us have been on council about, lack of work and that, and I think that this is one way that we can remedy it if the situation comes up.
I mean, they just did this down here on Old Tullamville Road when they people bought it for the farm. They had to post things saying that they were gonna rezone or looking to it. And they said, yeah, you went to the website and you saw when the meeting was and you could go or stay,
So, Ms. Ramsey, do you have a comment you want to make? So far, the only one that hasn't said anything.
I built buildings in virtually every county, town and city, east of 95, and it has always been a requirement for even just for a new building, whether the zoning has changed or not, post a billboard size. I mean, 4 foot by 8 foot in hot pink with black lettering, what is being done on that property. And I don't know if it was a legal requirement, but everywhere I built, you had to put one up 60 to 90 days ahead of any changes.
So that's even just for building, like a by right structure? They would post
Anything.
something?
Neighbors that have been next to a piece of property for years and years and years, even though they don't know what's going on with that property, they get upset when they see a change. So it's been, I guess, a requirement, maybe just a habit of all localities, just to go ahead and do that to make sure that everybody knows.
That's why we do the permits.
So the county, Louisa and Orange require you, if you're building a structure or renovating, to post your building permit. If you're developing property and you're going to develop on that property, you post billboard and it has all of your information on there. That's what they ask you to do. It is per locality and how they want it posted. And Louisa asks that you post your building permit if you're building or renovating, and you put it in your window. And if you're developing, or like the 14 houses, given that it was boundary line adjustments divided into other parcels, that was more of a development than some of the stuff that we see in mineral, and probably should have had more information posted so people would know what's going on. That's the biggest thing that we've had so far. But just building a house, the only requirement that the locality has is that you post your building permit.
So what is the will of the council?
I think it's fine. I don't think we can just 4 by 8, just like I guess during the zoning change.
The town does that, so it would just be a yard sign.
Yeah, yard
For zoning.
for zoning changes. I have no objection to that. I think she made a reasonable argument.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve yard signs for zoning changes on individual parcels.
One per parcel.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a
Yeah.
question real quick? So is this something that we think that you guys can do by policy? I know that that's what the planning commission suggested was, a policy. I included in your package language from Louisa in their ordinance. So I think that would require a little bit more effort on our part here if that's what we're wanting to do. So I just want to make sure we move correctly if this is.
So
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize, Mayor. I did want to jump in and say that this would be a change to the zoning ordinance for a requirement for how you go about a public hearing for a rezoning. If that's what you guys are thinking about doing, it would say the town shall post the sign in the person's front yard. There's language I could pull from other localities, but a policy or you could recommend good practice, but that's not enforceable. And then if you try to say, well, they didn't have the sign up, so we're not going to approve it, you really could start to get yourself into some trouble there if you denied it for that reason.
So I would suggest that we send this back to the planning commission and request specific language before we go into doing a public hearing to change ordinances. I think that we need to hear what the planning commission's full intent was here. And I think that it should come to us in writing from the planning commission.
Is the planning commission looking for a consensus from the council on whether or not we support it though before they put the effort into writing it?
They are, they're looking to, and I think it sounds like we support it. I think we support the idea, but I think that we need to see specific language before we authorize a public hearing, go through the expense and time of deliberating it and let the planning commission recommend the exact verbiage that they're looking for. That's just my thoughts.
It happens once every 30 years, could it just be? Could we recommend as a courtesy that, that they do it when they build something? I mean, most people would, I mean, just, hey, could you just put up a sign, I don't.
It wouldn't be them putting a sign up. It would just be the town.
We could do it.
It would just go out and put the sign up. But they do have it as an ordinance because they want to make sure that the person that's getting the zoning change kind of is a little more responsible with the signage itself. But the town will do the sign.
Mr. Mayor, since I'll be reporting this back to the planning commission, there were two things that came up and you kind of touched on them. Mr. Hempstead touched on it. This came by way of a request from a citizen of the town who said, stuff's happening and I don't know what's happening. That information that says, well, they're gonna build a house because they can always build a house to buy right stuff. And I think they were equating that with zoning signs. We definitely, we need to put out zoning signs, but I haven't seen many changes in zoning in all the years I've done this. But that other thing of what's going on? What are these changes? And there have been a lot.
I think again, I think we should get clarification from the planning commission before council takes action. I think that we need to let them have their voice, right? Planning commission has the authority to make recommendations to council. And I think that they should get the opportunity to do that. Just my thought. Any thoughts from council?
I think we still the best way to get out, but just a little, this is what's been approved, and that would just be lovely if we could get one out somehow, use email as much as we could. It's just hard to start something like that.
So are we looking to send this back to the planning commission with our support, looking for language?
Yes.
Sure. Sounds.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make sure that the planning commission is aware that we support the idea. Let's put together some particulars so that the council knows what's that it needs to take.
I'm not saying I'm supporting it yet, because I'm not getting it, that y'all are saying it happens 1 in 30 to 40 years.
Can I just ask him that? I'm sorry.
So, I'm not saying I'm supporting it.
Right, we're supporting the idea of them putting a finer point,
But it doesn't mean,
right,
yeah.
putting a finer point on it.
Excuse me, were you saying that they wanted just to identify when an area was being rezoned, or they think that if I'm putting a horse barn on my property before I sell it, that I should let my neighbors know?
It was basically the second one, something's happening.
Yeah, I don't feel like if somebody wants to know what I'm doing on my property and I don't need a permit for it, I'm not gonna post a sign.
Right.
And I don't think that that's required. If I'm building a house and I need a permit. Okay, I'll post my permit. I don't think that it's anybody's business what I'm doing on my property. And so as far as, if that's what they're looking for, then I think us going back to them is a waste of time.
Well, and that's why I asked for clarification. If you go back and watch the video, I asked 3 times for clarification. Because if I want to build a shed on my property, if I have the proper permits, somebody wants to know what I'm building, come knock on my door.
Ask them.
I'm not as unfriendly as I look. So, and then it puts an extra element of responsibility on the town. And look, we're a 3-person staff, we have 2 maintenance people. So who's putting these signs up? So those are the questions I had originally when it came up. And again, 3 times I asked for clarification and it was no, specifically if zoning is changing. So I think that the town needs to consider that as the request, because that's what the planning commission voted on. And if they want to add to that, notification boards, anytime we're approving a new house to be built, then they can submit that to the council, and council can discuss at that time. But that's not what we voted on at the last meeting. They voted on zoning signs only.
Okay.
And I think that that's probably, and Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, probably something that we should address in case it does happen.
Yeah.
And so this is the council actually being proactive and taking responsibility to make sure if somebody asks to rezone their individual parcel, we'll have a process in place. So I think that's important.
Yep.
I see a lot of heads going up and down. So, all right, I'll make that recommendation to the planning commission and we'll see it. I won't say next month because they need time to meet and all of that. All right, so now we're gonna come to reports. We'll get this last part of the meeting done as quickly as possible. We'll start with the town manager.
So my summary is in the packet for y'all to review. I would like to say that we did get the FY22 audit done and got the final report for that. That's located in your packet tonight. We're moving forward with FY23. No. So let's do park update, administrative information. Luckfield bathrooms, I've had no communication. I have reached out, I have developed the agreement, I have tried to work, and there's nothing for this, so I don't know, I can try something different, but there's crickets. We also were told a few meetings back to do the baseball sponsorship. We did that. We have not heard from them. They haven't cashed the check either, so I'm not sure what's going on. For the new park, which is the old school, the land, we have, our staff is cleaning that up, raking the ground, getting all the debris up. The truck is in the shop. Once it gets out the shop, they'll remove the last little bit of trash that's there to be hauled away. And they'll continue to rake the ground just to keep it clean. I know there's concern about just some stuff in that area because it's been sitting for so long. So we're gonna rake it probably 3 or 4 more times with our tractor and clear it out.
Treasurer's report, is there a specific?
There's a treasure report. This is town manager report.
Oh, you're not finished yet,
The water RFP process is on its way. We have a cooperative, possible cooperative contract that we can use to start the process for the well revitalization. So that'll get done sooner than later, hopefully. We'll know more this week. And then MuniCode, we've started the process of converting from E-code to MuniCode. This transition will be good for us. It'll be easier to maintain our codes and get them updated online. We will move forward with I would like council to have a consensus on this. The zoning permits expiration dates going forward. Right now zoning permits are approved and there's no expiration date. We brought this up at one of the meetings. We talked about it. I am in the process of editing our zoning permit to include better and more information. I would like for the zoning, at the expiration date to be, an additional 6 months, which is the ongoing, time frame for the localities. Rob, do we need to have, does that need to be anything that is, like publicly, like a public hearing for if we're just changing administratively our zoning, permits and the expiration dates?
Well, respectfully, I don't think it's an administrative change. You would
Oh.
need to amend the ordinance, the zoning ordinance to say permits are good for this long after issuance, or if nothing is done within this amount of time, towards substantial construction or something like that, we can work on, that
Okay.
language.
Okay, so would council be, okay with us moving forward to create that language?
What about the time limit?
So
We have no limit on our zoning right now.
Oh, okay.
They expire in 6 months, they can renew at a $75 renewal fee, which is in the fee for, we talked about the workshop. They can renew for an additional 6 months after the first 6 month expiration.
Isn't Louisa County 1 year? Couldn't we be the same as Louisa County?
This is zoning, that's building.
Oh. Okay.
And it gives us, I think, a little bit more concise control over what's out there. Right now, we don't know what's been approved because there was no record keeping prior to a year ago of what's out there. So it creates a lot of messy situations for our staff and for council, honestly, because we have to answer to them. But so are we okay with the staff creating the verbiage? Let's have it on next month's agenda.
Staff will be working with the attorney to create language.
We would like that to be a public hearing for next month.
Would that be, would you be prepared for next month?
That would be great, Jason. Save the money.
That would be a public hearing for June 2nd as for zoning, and we're doing our budget public hearing.
Right. So we would have a dual public hearing on the same night.
We have a public hearing for fees, budget, and then that.
Right. So that's why I'm asking, will you be prepared for that at the June?
We can plan it for that. If something changes, then we'll.
Yeah, we don't
I'll
wanna
let you know.
overcrowd you, we're just trying to save money, but if you know,
Well, I'm gonna be working with the
Decide.
attorneys, so the attorney's scheduled to.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm just thinking logistics here. They would have to get like the ad drafted up by tomorrow, because it has to be in the paper by tomorrow at 11 submitted.
Let's do it by July.
So we'll table this until July.
We'll have the language for July's meeting.
Okay, so public hearing for the July meeting.
And you can, if the verbiage is ready, can we review it? Can you put it in your report next
Yeah.
month? So council,
Yep.
and then we vote on it.
If it's ready, and then in July, you have your public hearing.
Okay, so let's do it that way. All right, now, I don't want to cut you off again, are you?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay,
Where does our water sit right now?
What do you mean?
What's being done to open the wells?
Okay, so that was the RFP process, so that's what that is.
So what is it?
So we have a cooperative contract that we could possibly use, which means that we could go ahead and move forward with getting the contractor that has. Louisa County has some contracts that are cooperative contracts that the town is allowed to kind of tag on to and utilize. If we can do that, then we can go ahead and set up a meeting with the contractor to start the first phase of our water and then move forward from there.
Do you have a timeline?
First, I have to hear back from the procurement office at VDH to see if that contract is in fact a contract that we can use. If it is in fact a contract that we can use, then we'll go ahead and request the contractor's schedule and get them on schedule, and then if we can, I'll have an update.
I do want to say, it was an email that was sent out supposedly to all of us, but I did not get it.
Yes, ma'am, it was sent to town council as a whole.
Stephanie forwarded it to me.
Yeah.
I did not get it.
Which one was that?
The 21st of March.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I did not get it.
That happened to me one day. I just didn't get it and everybody else got, so it was just like a glitch.
Because that's why I didn't
Google or
know
something,
anything about
Google.
this water until April. Because I was like, well, I said, what the heck, you know? And Stephanie did send it to me and I told her I didn't get it. But I do get her, the other stuff that
Yeah.
says town, but I did not
So
get
can
this.
So you have questions?
So can we as council, can we, when we get a group email from our staff, can we just send a reply that says confirmed? That way, if Nicole is looking and she says, no, wait a minute.
Can we do a
read
read
receipt.
receipt?
We can do a read
Okay,
receipt.
yeah.
You
That
do
way
it
we
like-
know,
It's a read receipt, so if you click open the email that we send, we know you got it.
that way if they're looking and.
Look
oh,
and
wait a
see,
minute.
I didn't get it.
Well,
Right,
I don't have a read receipt for that.
Yeah.
for that one, but they can look and say, okay, wait a minute, we sent this notice out to
Yeah.
council, Becky hasn't read it yet.
I
Let
haven't
me
read
call
it.
and see, or Ron hasn't seen it yet, let me call and see. Because our emails are not perfect, we haven't made, I mean.
I actually,
Michelle
there was
had-
one of those days where there was like 12 emails and I didn't get a single one of them. And it was a Google problem. It wasn't a town problem. It wasn't
Well,
a
I
bad
get
problem.
very
It was a Google
email.
problem. And this might have happened to you too, but it was an important day.
Yeah.
And this may have happened to you too. So if there's something anyone wants to, please call me.
And we also have a utility committee meeting, the first Wednesday of every month. It's open to the public and we discuss the water and everything that goes on.
Yeah, well, like I said, you know, I don't get very many emails from, you know, y'all are sending out a bunch of emails, I'm not getting them.
There isn't a bunch really.
'Cause I'm
But
not
let's,
getting them.
let's be mindful of that, so if we can put, I didn't even think about a read receipt, if we can put a read receipt on it. Cause there have been instances, I mean, Michelle and I, not that long ago, were like, wait a minute, I just sent it, like, how do you not have it? And eventually, I think they all came through, but it was a
The next
couple
day,
days.
and then 2
Yeah.
days later.
So let's just be mindful of that, if, you know, if we're seeing an email and we're seeing that someone on council hasn't opened it, let's just be mindful of that.
Can I just make, 2 comments?
Is it related to the manager's report?
Yes.
Okay.
When, you're talking about I'm sorry, it was about the zoning. When we get those, updates, can we make sure that the zoning permits all are numbered?
You want numbered zoning from?
Yeah, that way there we'll know, you know, that, it'll all be in compliance and we'll know how many we've issued and.
Do you
Have
think
to
there's-
create a numbering system because
Yeah.
everything's manual. The town used to write letters for approval of zoning permits, not actual keep the permit and approve it.
Well, if we're gonna
Or
update
write
it, let's
a-
update it.
That's what I'm doing.
And
Not actually number them. So and what we'll do is we'll start numbering them. We'll create a folder and keep them for that year in a folder. But in the office, they'll be in the subject folder that goes with the plat with all the information. But what we have an online folder that we can keep for the year.
So it would be kind of like a card catalog of the
Yeah.
permits with an ID number on it.
And the other thing, we were gonna try and get Mr. Reynolds here to talk about the water for this meeting. Do you know
So
what
we're
happened with
still
that?
working on setting up kind of a tutorial. With multiple people's schedules, we're still trying to pull that together. And truly, we all, I think, maybe aside from Michelle and Nicole, could stand to learn more about our water system. So that's really the goal, is to get as many people from the VDH and the water authority and to teach us.
I have it.
So we're still working on it.
I have a question. I don't understand the timelines, okay? So are the timelines have to be reviewed again to see?
So the timeline has to be updated based on.
I'm talking about the timelines on issues that's okay that you could connect with water and whatever. Are they going to be reviewed and whatever? I mean, I'm not trying to be I was gonna say a bad word. Y'all imagine what I was gonna say. Then I just want to know if there's something wrong, is it going to be corrected?
So we received a letter from James stating that March 7th is, and as Ms. Moon pointed out in her public comment, that March 7th was the day that is the stopping point. And once we get our wells to a place where if it can be used again and water's producing and everything's fine, VDH has to come in and they have to get a report from the engineer to say, yes, this is working, this is how much water's coming in, this is the gallons per day, etc. If they will allow us, they will lift the restrictions, but we can't do any of that until we get this process moving. And we get our first phase done for our grant, which is camera cleaned, well, what have you, to figure out what we need to do and what we can do. And then the next phase, which is our engineering part of it. And then after that, we can move forward. But hopefully the first phase will tell us a lot.
Okay.
That is a letter I just want to show you that he did write on May 9th, or I don't know what day it's dated, that states that, yeah, that states March 7th. So I've been communicating with him and Jared related to the grants and this water timeline. They are very familiar with what's happening in the town and understand what's going on.
So I will ask again that we get an update next month on where we are in the procurement process. Obviously, if something happens sooner than that, if you could just update council.
Keep us informed if it's, if you get where you're made a big progress, let us know. Hey, this is happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, that would be great if we could get progress reports.
All right, so now we will move to the treasurer's report. So before we dive into the treasurer's report, I want to say that I was not here for the budget meeting last week, but really great job. You guys, great questions. As I watched the video, any questions that I had got answered because I mean, you all seem to have the same questions that I had. So really, really, really great job. I really have to give kudos to our staff in preparation of this year's budget. Our budget is actually based on reality. It's based on a forecast of what was spent this year and what we look at spending next year. So really, really great job. I did call each individual member of staff and congratulate them on the job. Really, really well done. So super, super impressed with that. And there's a computer screen in the way, but I believe I see Kelly's shoulder. Kelly, did you have anything you wanted to bring up with council or?
No, not particularly. I mean, any questions I'm willing to answer, of course, but nothing in particular. Trying to give you a little more information each month as we move forward. At the town manager's suggestion that we just do a little update about the cemetery since there's not really anything in our financials about the cemetery, so to speak. So just, you know, wanted to put a little update in there about the number of lots that we've sold in the past 12 months and but no, I don't have any comments, but I'm open to questions if there are any.
Any questions for Kelly or anyone else on town staff regarding the budget?
I have a question about the 2022. So on the second page, so page 69, that was mineral and then town council and then general town government. Is that those people have listed because that's who was in place when this audit started? Is
Yes,
that, okay, not reflective of who was actually
Right.
in those positions at the time of the fiscal year?
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you.
And I know you said we've started the 23 audit. Do we have a timeline?
we have not started. I reached out to Beth, we used to do our reconciliations. Once we can get through these last couple of years, then we'll do a lot of the reconciliation in-house. Because we have the ability to do that. But I have not heard back from her, and hopefully we already contracted with them to do the reconciliation for 2023. She's got to do that before it gets punted to the auditor. I have to reach out to the auditor and just ask if they can give us a quote to do our audit for 23 and 24, because right now they are not set up to do our audit for 23. That was not set up in the past. It's set up for the reconciliation, but it was not set up for audit. So I think they're willing to do it, obviously. It's just a matter of them giving us a quote and we bring it to here.
And have we heard from the mortgage company on this building in regards, are they okay with the timeline on getting these audits to them?
They've been working with us.
Okay. For council, I don't know if you all understand, the only reason that the town has to have an audit is because the mortgage on this building requires it. So because of our population, we are not required under state code to have an audit annually. But they can call in a note on this building if we don't supply an audit. So that's why it's important that we get this caught up and done, so that we don't get a notice from a mortgage company saying pay up or shut up. So that's important. This is a priority. All right, so moving on, if there are no other questions or comments about the treasurer's report, we'll move on to the DMV report. As I mentioned in my announcement earlier, DMV just had their annual audit where the state actually comes in and checks all their paperwork, all their finances, making sure they're processing everything correctly. They did amazing. There was a question, Joanna, I'm going to point you out for a second, about the reporting of money coming in from the DMV. So I want to show you, I mean, it looks, you can see it here, April 2025, and Nicole or Kelly, correct me if I'm way off base here.
Yep.
So the total monthly revenue, the dollars that the DMV took in for the Commonwealth of Virginia is $891,672.41. So that's a huge amount of money. Statistically, the DMV select and mineral is somewhere in the top 3 of all of the DMV selects in the state, and I think there's 32 DMV selects in the state. So that's a huge notch in our belt. The town from that 891,000 takes 39,000 for the month of April. And it's percentage based. And Nicole, I'm gonna need your assistance here. So it's like the first
Here, so it starts out at like 3%. And then it tears down.
Right.
And then once you reach like $1 million, it's at a 1%.
Right. So in the past, the reports have been given to council. This is the 3% that the town receives, but they didn't take account for that drop in the percentage as the amount went up. So we were getting kind of inflated numbers in the past. Now we're getting actually what's appearing in the town's account from the DMV. So It does look like we're making a little bit less money from the DMV, but it's because we're reporting it accurately. We're not reporting it all at 3%.
So, and these numbers that are reported in the monthly packet. We won't know the actual deposit until it comes in on the, as direct deposit from the state. So these are just what are kind of estimated roughly what we would receive.
Okay. And does that deposit comes in one lump deposit each month, or is it each day?
It's one lump deposit, right, Kelly?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So can we start? So I know it would be a month behind, but can we start getting a report, a line item somewhere that shows the deposit made by the state?
So we have multiple COVA funds. Go ahead, Kelly.
So if you look in your budget analysis, revenue and expenditures, under the DMV section of revenue, it will show you what the DMV select revenue was for the month of April, which was 39,455.87.
It's on the bottom right hand.
It's on the bottom.
Page 161. And it is in that first section, about 3/4 of the way down to that third section, 150,361 DMV select revenue. The monthly activity, 39,455.87. Year to date, 401,676.73.
So, and then this report is what Kendra sends because she does an estimate for the month.
Sure.
And then Kelly pulls the actual month in.
So nice to read. It is just lovely, thank you.
Perfect. All right. Kelly, was there anything else or any other questions for Kelly? All right, so we'll move on to individuals committee reports. Does any committee chair want to make a report?
Secretary Lewis and Nicole got in touch with me. I haven't really reviewed it that much. I kind of glanced over it because I was away this afternoon. It's signage for the park, or do you call it a park? Cemetery. And so I haven't, really touched on that.
Okay.
And the fire department went out, looked at that truck. It should be here in 3 to 4 weeks. It'll go to Charlottesville. It'll get all the, whatever they have to do in Charlottesville, and then they'll get it probably by, I'm estimating August, they'll have that truck, maybe July, I'm not sure. And this is the replacement of the truck that was wrecked 2 years ago.
Right. Any other committee reports?
We could talk about the water. Does anybody need more information on the water? Are you sure? Because I don't want anybody complaining that they don't know enough about the water.
Well, and we're gonna set up a kind of tutorial with all of the officials of the water, VDH, Water Authority, and make that available so that we as council can start to learn, because
I agree.
tell you, up until a year ago, I knew if I turned my faucet, water came out.
That was it.
And it's been a crash course to try to wrap my brain around it, because never had to think about it before, so why would I?
I do want to say that, it's my strong preference that individual council members not act and to interfere in the negotiations with VDH, and, try to change dates or whatever you need to do. That's a big concern for me, and we can talk about it personally, but I really think we need to work within the committee system and the council system. It's important that our town do this, that we do this together and not
the lone wolf approach to running a water system, I don't think is the best way to do this. And we need to do this as a council. And not have people, just randomly calling the Department of Health and trying to change, information that they have. I don't see that as a healthy way to run a town. So I think let's all try to work together and make this a unified effort to make our municipal water system work well.
I want to point out that our Economic Development Committee, Joanna, had someone set up for this evening and they had something come up and I had to cancel. So we didn't have a business spotlight tonight at the very last minute, but we have the daycare next month. So we'll learn about another local business that's here in town and how we can help promote a brand new local daycare that's here in town. So we're looking forward to that. If there are no other committee reports, I'll just go right into my song and dance.
Please do.
So obviously, it's been a tough month for the town. We're dealing with this water situation. I think that the town staff, the committee and the council has done an exemplary job of getting accurate and correct information out there in regards to what we need to do to fix this water system. We know that this is a 30-year issue. We just have the responsibility of getting it right. So let's work together. Let's get it right. I started the night commemorating a gentleman who served this town, and he would have said, as loud as his booming voice would allow him, he would have said, guys, let's do it right. Let's get this right. This is the history. This is the future of the town. So let's take his words with us as we leave tonight, and let's focus on the importance of governing the town and getting things done right and quickly. With that being said, I'll open the floor to council comment. I would implore council to remember civility and maybe end on a positive note. Any council
I
comment?
do have something that upset me to a point that was in the paper, and I'm gonna read it. It says, Councilmember Bernice Q via Zoom responded to comments made by Councilmember Rebecca McGee about prioritizing the water situation before tackling any projects in the town. And she said, this is her quote, "You have residents in this town that don't get town water. So the only thing that they are getting is trash pickup," QB said. And honestly, that's not enough service to be paying town taxes. So I don't think it's viable to think we just can't do anything else in this town but deal with water. My thing is, the water has been neglected. We have to get our water up. Just because you don't get water, we pay a bill. I mean, this is misleading, like everybody in town that gets water is getting free water. That's not true. To me, it's misleading. That's how I feel. This is my opinion only. But to say that if you're only getting trash pickup, so you shouldn't have to pay town taxes, I mean, that's ridiculous. So anyway, my thing is, we have to put our water first, period. We can't do anything else with that school property. Needs to sit there until doomsday, until we pay and get this water taken care of. I mean, that's how I feel. I thought this was an unfair statement because we do pay our water bill. I know I pay a big water bill and everybody else in here probably does too. But just because you don't get water means you don't want to pay taxes. I don't have kids in school. I don't want to pay my county taxes because I don't have a kid in school. Same thing.
I did clarify, because I was concerned how many people are in that position. I did clarify, and it turns out it was just the QB residences, which would be her house and
Yeah,
her
but
cottage
it's
and the
not
house
my
across
fault
the
she doesn't
street
get-
that she owns.
But she would pay.
But everybody else
Yeah.
uses town
It's-
water, I
you
think,
pay
unless
for
they
it.
have a well.
It's not
Right.
free. people, it's not 3.
And I think that we've shown as a council tonight and in our last meeting that
We
the
need to-
water is absolutely a priority.
Exactly.
It is a priority.
And I won't approve anything. I don't care if anybody else does. I won't approve anything. Big projects until we get our water situated.
And that's just warms my heart. You know, that we're gonna commit some money, the council will, because it's been a long time. And it's nice to hear. I'm not saying we need to go neglect everything else, but it's nice to hear.
Well,
Commitment to money.
it's been neglected for 30 years, so
We need
You
to
know,
commit to the.
you can take that to the bank.
Any other council comments?
I just want to talk about transparency. And transparency is essential. And listening to tonight, it seems like there's some uncomfortableness with the amount of transparency with the dates and the times. You know, so we just have to make sure that we are being fully transparent with what we, you know, we can't be beating around the bush. We have to face up, and if I missed a timeline, I gotta tell you, you know, I'm not suggesting that that was in anybody's thing, but we just have to make sure that transparency continues.
Yeah, and we really made an effort, this, you know, to do this, and you know, I think sometimes it's misinterpreted perhaps, I don't know, I know that I did get 3 zoning permits. But they're not for connecting to water, so they're really not relevant to this because I'm not connecting to the water system, so whether or not I got them doesn't really matter, but it does keep coming up and it does sound intransparent, but it's not really relevant. So, but we really have made an effort to put out the information, and I'm not, it's hard because people do get caught in these things. And we try to make the best decisions for the most number of people, but there's always gonna be somebody that gets caught. And we really try to accommodate those people the best that we can. And, you know, to work, to make this work for them and try to, but it's just some people are gonna get stuck. And hopefully this can get resolved very quickly and, you know, the people who did get stuck, you know, by the cutoff date, we can accommodate them as quickly as possible.
And I want to say, I've been approached by people asking me questions and, you know, I can't answer some of these questions, so I'm inquisitive. I ask questions. Might ask too many, but anyway, you know.
We're not hiding anything.
I don't know the answers and, you know, I represent these people. And, you know, I'm trying to the best of my ability to give them the right information, and that's why I ask questions.
When you know, growing up, my parents would say to me all the time, the only dumb question is the one you didn't ask, right? And that's the thing, and this is how we'll end tonight's meeting. I think that we need to all remind ourselves that when we're asking questions, we're not asking from a place of aggression. We're not asking from a place of, let me catch you up. We're asking from a place of, we need to learn. We are 6 to 7 people that are new. None of us are career politicians. So we need to be able to ask questions of each other, ask questions of our staff who will deliver answers as they have them. Expecting anybody to know the answer to every question the moment you ask it is expecting them to fail. So we want to make sure that we're keeping a positive spin when we are asking questions. I don't come into Nicole's office and say, tell me right now. That, I mean, that's not going to be an effective communication style, no matter who you're talking to. And if somebody did that to me, I would educate them quickly on how to behave. That's just not appropriate. So we want to make sure we're conducting ourselves with the same professionalism that we want to be treated with, right? So remember, it's not always an attack. It's not always to catch you up. It's legitimate. I mean, Nicole and I spent an hour and a half on the phone today where she was educating me on this water system because I don't know everything there is to know. I got down a rabbit hole this weekend and read the 468-page VDH manual from cover to cover and freaked myself out. And Nicole had to talk me off the cliff because it just was not as dire as I thought it was. And it took me asking questions. Now, if you saw the email I sent to Nicole previous to that saying, oh my God, what is going on? It just took that moment of conversation where it wasn't me saying, Nicole, you screwed up. It wasn't Nicole saying, oh, wrong. And she could have, because it was dumb. It was, no, Ron, let me walk you through the reality of it and let me clear up some things. So again, be open-minded to those kind of conversations, because that's how we're gonna come together in these meetings and make the decisions that are best for our people. And so that we can best inform citizens when they stop us and ask us. And it's like clockwork. They stop me when I'm at Family Dollar in my pajamas trying to get mayonnaise so I can make my sandwich. And now they want to debate the water system and I'm like, my mayonnaise. But again, that's what we're here for. We're here to answer to our constituents. We're here to communicate information to them. But if we can't communicate with ourselves, amongst ourselves, how are we ever going to get the right information out to the people who need it?
But when we ask questions and we don't get answers, it just goes into the abyss and we never get an answer?
No, keep asking. Keep asking. If we're not getting the answers we need, keep asking, or think about what is the question we're asking? Are we asking the question that's getting the answer we need? Sometimes just looking for that clarification, actually a prime example was our conversation today. I was misinterpreting the answer 100% and seeing it a whole different way. And I was like, well, then I'm right. And then I sat back and thought about it. No, wait, I'm not right. I'm wrong because I wasn't asking the right question. So we keep asking. And if we're not getting the answers we need, not necessarily the answers we want, right? But the answers we need, then go to the next person, go to a counterpart on council, go to the next person on staff. And maybe in that conversation, we'll realize, okay, wait, no, I needed to word that question a different way in order to get the information that I need. Does that make sense?
Sure.
But if we're not getting answers, if we're being told, no, you don't have a right to that information, that is incorrect. That is incorrect on any level.
I'd like to say something. Just for everybody's safety, there are bears in the neighborhood.
What?
They are active.
What?
Bears?
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Keep them there.
Thank you for sharing.
I can't,
Honestly, I didn't.
I know Betsy had another bears in our neighborhood.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know. Oh, it's been bears for years.
Well, yeah, but they're very active. I just want to let you know. Thank you. I'm sorry, it's a safety thing you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's
well,
okay, but
yeah, they've been up in, it's lots of deer too, so.
maybe
Stephanie
they'll
had a
snack
question.
on it instead of us.
Oh, well, now I'm not gonna take a flashlight.
I know.
All right, guys, Stephanie had a question.
No, Mr. Mayor, I was just asking for clarification for this DPOR resolution. What is the council's expectations with that? Does it get sent to DPOR? Are we just holding on with it? What was council's expectation?
We'll go ahead and forward that to DPOR after it's been signed.
Yeah.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And a second. We are adjourned.
This was nice.